Is recording. Audio is recording. Can I get a clap in 3, 2, 1?
Okay.
All right. Yo, yo, yo. You're listening to WKNC 80.1 HU1 Raleigh. I'm Vertu, and welcome back to Inner Groove. Tonight's show will not be featuring a live mix, because instead I have an exclusive interview with a very special guest whose melodic productions and hypnotic DJ sets have taken over Raleigh's techno scene by storm and garnered international success. Here with me tonight is KAΙ Wagner.
I'm KAΙ Wagner, guys. How's it going? I'm from Germany, Frankfurt, Germany to be exact. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here too. This is my first interview on WKNC, and I'm really looking forward to getting into learning more about your personal life, how you became a DJ and producer, and just looking for the future of your career. So to start off with a little bit about yourself, you just said you're from Frankfurt, Germany. How did you get into techno music?
So I grew up with my grandmother pretty much listening to techno and the radio, and my father just loves acid techno, and it's just integrated into my life from youth. And as I grew in the underground, I used to attend parties since I was 15 years old. The techno scene in Germany is basically, how it is, right? And it's just from there I started getting curious, started getting interested in how this DJ is gonna create those sounds, and just everything started getting from there. Started having mentors, just from the underground scene in Germany is insane, right? What you guys see in the media and stream is nothing compared to what really goes downstairs.
Totally. And were these parties more on the illegal or, let's say not permitted in kind of a field or a warehouse, or were they you going into clubs?
Oh, absolutely illegal.
I mean, that's when you're under the age of 18, that's how everyone starts, I guess, especially in Germany, I imagine.
Yeah, we would just go to these places where we the GPS would tell us somewhere, we have no idea where we are, and all of a sudden it's just okay, you hear the music, you follow the sound, and it's just an abandoned church. It's an abandoned kind of warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a party, right? And for 2 days we're just there, right?
Yep.
So you start hearing all this beautiful music, and people some people just go for it. I basically just kind of got curious really what makes those sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I started asking questions, and people were oh, you're curious, we'll show you.
Mm-hmm.
So some guy, his name is Jadi. He's one of my mentors there. He owns a club called Pink. Shout out to Jadi. He basically kind of took me under his wing and started showing me what it is to be a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I was really struggling. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna lie to you. The technology wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what year was this, just for context?
Just about 2014.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So way before CDJ 3000.
Yeah. So it was just he started showing me in vinyls and stuff.
Okay.
And we started going through record shops and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I kind of had to ditch my friends a little bit just to kind of learn what it is. And it was very challenging at the beginning, but as you get into it, you start going to a record shop and you have all these records from 80s, 90s with unique sounds, electronic sounds, and you're okay, I want to go through them all, so I want to learn as much as I can, but obviously it's impossible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways you had to learn how to accommodate your sound and figure out your identity as a musician. For me, it was obviously very early, but I was too ambitious. I kept thinking about what it is to actually make those sounds rather than just hit play.
Yep.
And it was just amazing, and it led me to really just a lot of roads. My first gig was in Pink clubs. It's an LGBT club in Frankfurt, and I can't tell you how many mistakes I actually
I
made
mean,
there.
I think everyone always is critical of their first set. I mean,
Yeah.
I was the same the first time I ever played. It's
Uh,
just, you're so focused on wanting everything to be perfect, but you
I-
have to realize, you know.
Yeah, I missed every beat, man. Like every one of them, because I was so nervous. But then on my last two songs, I actually got it right, and then I was just like, okay, I want to keep going. Johnny was just like, nope, that's it. You only get like 20 minutes.
So in those early days, do you feel that you pulled some inspiration from your grandma or your dad in terms of the sounds they played? Like, what kind of genre were they playing when it came to, you said techno and acid, but any kind of labels specifically or artists that you can remember?
My grandmother used to listen to this guy, Reze. He is a German, also electronic music producer. He's like from the early, like 70s and stuff. You
Mhm.
know, that back then when like music was still just being made, like, you know, unconventionally.
Mhm.
And this guy just like had this repetitive minimal sound, and my grandmother used to just like say, oh, I love this, I love this. And I was like, I didn't understand what it was until I grew up. And then I know my dad used to play, like he used to play football, and just like he used to love the quick rhythms.
Mhm.
So acid sounds
Mhm.
were like his thing,
Mhm.
and every time the radio would come in, like he would drive me somewhere, and the radio would play acid techno. My dad
Mhm.
was just like blasting full blast in the car. I remember my mom and dad just like fighting one time because my mom wanted him to lower the volume. My dad really loved that acid
Yeah,
track,
yeah.
and he just kept going with it. So it's kind of it. These are the early memories I have for like music. And it's just like how I got really like, yeah, I want to do this.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting because I personally feel like I've never heard of any DJ having parents and even grandparents that involved in electronic music from all the way from the 70s until now. And I guess one question is, how did you end up in Raleigh or in North Carolina all the way from Frankfurt? What brought you over?
Okay, so I basically, so all the way from the beginning, I used to play football in Frankfurt, Eintracht, as a professional, and you know my career really was like structured to be in football, not
Really?
in music.
Wow,
Yeah.
really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
just football, right?
Yeah.
I breathe football. When signed my contract, and started playing in the Bundesliga B, and things were going great. And unfortunately, and this is the first time I'm actually saying this, I got diagnosed with a tumor type 2 for the liver.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
so it was really bad.
Mhm.
Like, you're just like going for a medical checkup in a
Mhm.
day, before you get on training, and then the doctor just like releases everybody, tell you to wait, and tells you that you have a tumor, stage 2, and you're like, whoa, what is the case? Like, are you joking with me or something?
Mhm.
Like, nope, it's true. Shows me the footage. Obviously, I get devastated for a while, and just from there, it was like shut myself down for
Mhm.
a while. But then you start realizing that life is way too short, and you just don't know if you're gonna wake up tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
At least as a 19-year-old, you've no idea what's going on.
And all you've done your whole life is football, so
Football.
it's just completely.
Yeah,
where do
music
I
was
go?
on the side.
Mhm.
Like, music was just on the side. Like, I learned when I was 15, but it kept being a side hobby. But then I was like, okay, it's time to really live my life as every day is the last day. And I
Mhm.
started traveling. Like, I started traveling on cargo ships because that's where my dad's business was.
Mhm.
And I was just like, see culture, absorb all this cultures, all this music, all this stuff. And then just like, with my sick body, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go live as the way I live. And if anything happens,
Mhm.
it just happens, right? And I kept doing that, and I kept absorbing a lot of culture, a lot of music, and it kept reminding me how beautiful music is, really. And in some ways, it really saved me
Mhm.
from like devastating depression of like being sick.
Mhm.
And it's just, my life kept going that way, and I started traveling a lot, through continents, through, like I said, cargo ships. I would spend in the sea like 2 to 3 months, just kind of
Wow.
looking at the moon. Like, it's boring, but it's also like very spiritually
Mhm.
awakening. Um, and then I've ended up living in Kyoto for 2.5 years, which was insane, you know. And I learned a lot there, spiritually, but also like the music side, the underground scene there.
Yeah, I've heard Japan has an amazing underground.
Dude.
I would love to experience it one day.
You have to. I'm telling you, what you see upstairs is really, again, nothing. And the Shibuya districts and downstairs and like those abandoned subways where they do the raves, it's insane, you know. And they bring DJs from across the globe, you know, that you just never heard of, but you're like, oh, this is a good DJ. Like this is a discovery. And every rave is like that. So it kind of kept me like on my toes of like I want to learn more and more and more. And then when my production started really exploring into like, okay, I'm gonna start making some acid sounds. I'm gonna start exploring what's going on with music, and I think it just kept going from there. And eventually, in one of my travels, I landed in Miami. And you know, when you land in Miami and you have a few crazy friends like I did, they just took me to space. Like I landed, they took me to space. We spent like I think 48 hours in space. You know?
As you do.
Yeah, like my luggage is still in the car. You know, and it's like, okay, let's go to space. And I was just like, this is my place now. I'm just gonna stay here. And just stayed in Miami, like party, but I couldn't live in Miami because it was crazy. I had to work in the ports of like Miami and West Palm Beach, so I found a middle ground to live. And eventually I, you know, kept doing what I'm doing, and then just like met somebody there, and then we decided it was a good time to explore something different. I'm a traveler, so I'm like, it doesn't really matter to me where I go, because I've already like been cured out of cancer. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna travel, and wherever I go, I'm gonna find what I do and what I love, and I'm just gonna keep doing it. Music, soccer, you know, people. I love people. So I came here to Raleigh, and I found like a very small town that is like still growing in so many ways, and I was just like, okay, let's do this, you know. And COVID hit obviously after I moved here, so I kind of locked myself up, and like everybody else, it's just like started making music and started really nurturing my curiosity for DJing and aesthetic, and started really just rebellishing that nature of like, hey, it's time to step out into the world, right? And we had some connections here and there, and I started making my first track, which was Rumble, which I've been sitting on for years, but I was just like, basically I had over 150 projects that I have not released, because I was just making them. I was just like, hey, maybe I'm not ready, and I just kept telling myself I'm not ready. So my advice right now is just like, if you are a young producer, you're a young DJ, and you think, hey, I want to make music, I want to pursue music, go for it. You know, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Go for it. You know, even if you don't have the funds, if you don't have the resources, go rent something. You know, talk to somebody, reach out to people, ask them, hey, I want you to teach me how to be a musician. I want you to teach me how to be that. You just don't know, okay? Let the world judge. Doesn't matter.
And like you said, I mean, you never know when your last day can be.
You just don't.
With your...
Yeah, dude.
That was a very touching story for you to
Thank
give
you.
in
Thank
this
you.
interview, especially, you know, I can see how all that travel and all your experiences go into your music. You know, you do have a very diverse sound, which we'll speak about in a moment. But speaking of traveling, you just came back to Raleigh from a show in Cairo, Egypt.
Yes.
How was that?
Oof. This city, man, is the most beautiful, chaotic city I've ever seen in my life. It's insane. The moment you land there, people are so warm, right? Everybody just like opens doors for you. Everybody's just like, hey, welcome to our country. And you just get in and you're like, it's electric vibe. Like, I'm just getting goosebumps talking about it. And, you know, like, you just end up, like, falling in love with the place, right? And I stayed by the Nile, and, you know, but there's obviously not a lot of, like, organized, because it's a third world, right? There's not a lot of organization. But in that, there's beauty, right? You just, people, you see how people deal with things in a very efficient manner. yet it's not spoiled. Like they just don't have the resources, yet somehow they're super efficient. And I fell in love with that. I just kept observing them. That's like me just landing. And then just the first thing they did was like the pyramids were closed because they closed after 5 p.m. So I had to wait. But my manager there was just like, hey, let's go to the bazaar. And I was just like, sure, what the hell's that? And then he goes, is like, well, I'll show you. And then we walk into the street. It's like food everywhere. People were dancing with fire. People were dancing with this. And I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. And you start kind of like understanding what it is to be in a city like this that is so big, yet somehow it's just full of small alleys, and each of them tell a different story.
And does that transition to the techno scene there? What is it like? Is it very underground? Are there any clubs? You know.
So it's a very Middle Eastern culture, right? So you don't expect what I saw. Like what I saw was the moment I walked into that club, it's like we walked downstairs like 2 floors downstairs, and I can tell you that the people there were just like, I felt like I was just in Berlin. And I was just like, yeah, how on earth we just up there, people like dancing with fire, street food everywhere and stuff like that, and all of a sudden we're like transported into Berlin kind of club. Everybody's just in dark, everybody's shades, everybody's just dancing, and the BPM on is like 142, just
Amazing.
Going up, right? And like, what's going on? You know, like okay. And then I honestly, like, I had a direction. I was just like, I'm gonna infuse some melody into my sound, just because I did a little bit of research on the culture. I like to do that, but I just had to take my directions, just threw it out of the window. I was just like, okay, it's time to improvise. And really, it was a beautiful set from, I think, I went on at 2:30 a.m. and I was supposed to stop at 4. But the club promoter came to me. It was just like, no, you're not stopping. You know, we're going to go till 6.
Amazing.
And I was just like, yep, I'm not stopping. And it was just like, ended up like, even just, I don't think the psytrance thing there is big, but I played a little bit of acid techno psytrance, and I haven't seen that reaction in a very long time. People were so excited to the point where they, I don't know, like everybody just went nuts the moment I started bringing the BBM to 155, and just like, yes, this is what we've been asking for. I was just like, okay, then we're going till 6 a.m. then. So it was an insane show, and yeah, I definitely very grateful that my music had reached them there, and they are now just like, hey, we want you back. And I'm like, I would absolutely go back next year.
No, that's amazing. I might have to fly out to catch one of these experiences. And if you're just tuning in, I'm here with KAΙ Wagner, the Techno Fox, and talking about traveling and touring in all these different countries. Have you toured elsewhere? And if so, what have you noticed about the culture or the type of music crowds like to hear in America versus Egypt, or maybe other places you've been to?
That's a great question, actually. So, like, you know, when you are so used to one scene, you will stick to one sound because people like that. Like, let's say for tech house, right? A lot of people play tech house these days. And yeah, okay, cool. Tech house is cool, but I don't find a lot of diversity. I play a little bit of dark tech house sometimes, but that's like depends on the crowd. But like touring wise, I like in Egypt, you just never know what kind of crowd you're gonna get. As you tour, as you see, for example, South America. I tour a lot in South America, and my show, this Saturday on October 21st is my last show here in America. It's in Elevate. It's in Durham, the Fruit. So if you can come over. It's we're gonna be taking over the basement. It's gonna be till 4 a.m. We're just gonna go techno all night. We have Are You Vistas coming from Canada, and we have Isabel Essence from Durham, and we have Mr. Jupiter from here, Raleigh, and myself. It's going to be insane. But to get back to touring, pretty much you just never know what you're gonna expect, and you have to have a load of different directions. So one direction is not gonna work anymore. The scene you're used to, it's not there. Okay, you're so used to the comfort it's not there,
Mhm.
right? As a touring artist, you're always on edge, right? I don't drink. I do not do any kind of substance, nothing, right? I am super focused all the
Mhm.
time because you just don't know how the crowd is gonna react to every track you're gonna play. And as a touring DJ, a lot of times you're being looked at as like from even from the local scene, why why is this guy coming from outside like to headline here, right?
Mhm.
It's not about proving yourself, it's about constantly showing up what you got in stock, right, to make these people's night, because it's your job as a DJ to make them right. So for example, in South America, do you love progressive music? Do you love melodic music? Do you love quick rhythm, quick beats?
What countries specifically
So,
have you been in South America, or you're referencing?
okay, so Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Panama, these countries, which I'm gonna be going to again in November, all have one thing in common: progressive music,
Mhm.
right? Do you love tech house? You do love tech house, but the techno scene is mostly consistent of progressive and melodic music. There's definitely an underground scene where hard techno and acid techno is there, but if you let your creativity really like kind of pile up there, it's going to take you places where you can infuse a sound you never heard before with a sound you know very well, and it's gonna create a whole new genre. Like you're just mixing, right? The idea of I'm gonna play a track and then take out a track, it's now going away.
Mhm.
You know, you have to be creative. You have to
Mhm.
learn how to mix, right? That's why I prefer 4 decks if I can have them. So I prefer an RMX if I can have it,
Mhm.
right? Because you have to constantly evolve. And what's a better way to evolve rather than the stage? You know, push yourself out of the comfort zone. And I think these countries are really a big test for DJs because they are full of talent. You know, and when you go there, you learn, you listen to them. Sometimes I like doubt myself, and I'm like, wow, this guy is technically more gifted than I am. You know, what am I gonna do? And this, I think, these moments of self doubt are the moment that kind of push me beyond what I'm capable of at the moment. So I go home with these ideas, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna sit down and make new music, not just new music. I'm gonna search for new music that fit this culture that I'm in, and at the same time keep me who I am and infuse it together, and that just pushes my boundaries.
So, how do you go about preparing something as large a task as that? I mean, do you just have a USB stick with 1,000 tracks in one playlist, or do you have the playlist organized by genres, or what's your kind of workflow preparing for a set?
Oof, it's two USBs. It's always two USBs with about depends on really where the show is at. So for example, if I was gonna go play in Argentina today, I'm gonna put progressive, I'm gonna put melodic, I'm gonna put driving, I'm gonna put acid, I'm gonna put a little bit of dark minimal tech house. Right, so that's my workflow right there, right? And then I'm gonna do a backup of genres outside of that
Mhm.
in case I test them out and they work out there, and then I can put them into the direction. But I never prepare for one direction. I always have, even the second USB that I have has nothing to do with the first one, right? It's totally different genres, and they're all ready to blend on the stage. And I think that's one of the best things that I'll learn as I tour, to always be prepared and at the same time remember why are you doing this,
Mhm.
because it's very important. Are you doing this because you just want the fame? You just want to be, oh my god, you're a DJ, wow, you know, or do you want to actually make people happy, right? Because there are two different directions. One is selfish, one is very selfish, and one is selfless. The selfless one is where you're not afraid to change the direction that you chose and let your ego out of the door, because people are more important than your ego, and vice versa, right? So that's, I think, where a lot of DJs kind of fail as they tour internationally, because they choose their ego over a culture they've never met, they've
Yeah,
never seen, and
it's-
now they're experiencing. So they're like, oh, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's same. Oh, big festival. I'm on the headline. Just play from the same pool of tracks that I played last week in a different country, but
Mhm.
still, it's the festival. So who cares?
Yeah, but you know what? People are quick to catch to that, and I think they recognize that. And you're now not just jeopardizing the set you're playing. You're jeopardizing your future into that festival, that country. Because now, why would people come and see you if you have been playing the same pool that they've heard before?
Yep.
Right.
So, do you, on top of preparing your music with all this intention, do you have a physical or mental routine that you do to get ready before you go on to play a show?
Absolutely, absolutely. I do tend to take about 30 minutes to meditate before my shows. Like I have my team that travel with me every now and then. Josh, Lauren, I love you guys. They're my Berlin Records team. Emiliano from Argentina, Dario from Germany, Ahmad from Egypt. Love all of you guys. That's the Berlin Records team. They understand that whenever they're traveling with me, for the last 30 minutes before my show are usually mine, right? Because there's a lot that goes into it. I sit down, I try and meditate, and I try to just set my mind straight. But also before that, I like to blend with the crowd. Just go watch the crowd. Like the guy before
Just
me is playing.
go in and
just go
listen.
in, dance, listen,
Yeah.
enjoy it. Because at the end of the night, it's just like music is music, you know? And if you let music just kind of guide you, you will be guided to the right
Yeah,
place.
you get a feel for the room, for the crowd, what's working, what's not,
not.
and just seeing, the overall vibe for the night.
Exactly. Just talk with people, blend with them. Like I said, I'm a people person. I really love people, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I am a musician. I'm a DJ. It's because just how much I love people, and people are unpredictable, and I think that's the beauty of having people on the dance floor being unpredictable, because it kind of pushes you and you push them, you expose them to new music, they expose you to new reactions, and together we create a beautiful experience through the night, right? Which both of us, in most time, we cannot wait to repeat it, so that I think that's one of the biggest motivations that I have. But yeah, just meditating and taking deep breaths and breathing techniques that I do that kind of just allow me to okay, I'm ready. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's great to hear that you do as much as possible to get mentally and emotionally prepared for bringing people on a journey that they're taking time. They could be at any other party, but they're here with you, wanting to see you and hear you and just have a good time. So with that, we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back right after hearing the first track off KAΙ Wagner's forthcoming EP titled
I Can't Sleep. It's an acid EP that is going to be coming soon. It's already been hit, really. Had a great reaction over countries, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It's going to come out soon. It's around November, end of November. And the reason why I'm going to say that this specific EP is very special is because this EP was inspired by something beyond myself. It's connection that I made with people, and just kind of reacting to people telling me, hey, I can't sleep because I am high on music, and I'm like, wow, that sounds like something beautiful. I'm gonna create something from that. So that was the motivation behind it. I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you after the break.
Yeah, once again, that is KAΙ Wagner on air on Inner Groove, and we will be playing the first track off of I Can't Sleep EP, Acid Surge. Keep it locked. All right. Well, we can keep rolling. I'm just gonna. That's so when I edit,
How is it so far?
Yeah, no, that was very good. That's a perfect direction that I wanted to go into, because I kind of broke it up into first your DJ. Now we're gonna switch to you're producing.
Okay. The flow and stuff like that.
Workflow, and also, you kind of already talked about your inspirations, but also maybe go a little deeper into that, and we can go into detail about the EP. That was what I was going to start with.
Sure.
Since the track is playing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm sorry. I tend to like I've done an interview or two before, and I really like I tried to preserve myself in a way, and the interviewer was just like, you just gotta be yourself.
Yeah.
Talk, man. It's okay.
No,
You're here to
like,
talk. You know.
it's going in a great direction. I'm
Good.
enjoying it so far.
Good.
Like,
Good.
yeah,
Me too.
this is good.
Good. Me too. Yeah. It's thank you again for doing this.
No,
I really
thanks for being
appreciate
here.
it. I hope you don't mind if we like kind of advertise this internationally.
No, yeah, totally. I mean, the footage and the audio, I'll be able to send it to you once I
Cool.
clean it up.